Hey, Kev, it's time to record a new Smodcast.
Fuck off. I'm listening to one of the other great shows on the Smodcast podcast network. Scott?
There's so many to choose from.
You damn skippy, there's so many to choose from. I'm on 5 every week myself, man. Hollywood Babylon on Monday, Smodcast with you on Tuesday, Jay and Silent Bob Get Old on Wednesday with Jay Muse, Fat Man on Batman every Thursday, and then I wrap up the week with Edumacation with Andy McElfresh.
There's so many to choose from.
Hell yeah, son, and those aren't the only podcasts. Those are just the ones I'm involved with. What about the podcasts of Smodco that don't feature me, man? Like Tell 'em Steve Dave, Last Week on Earth with Ben Glebe, I Sell Comics with Ming and Mike.
There's so many to choose from.
Hey, man, there's also Film School Fridays or Netheads or Get Up on This, Team Jack.
There's so many to choose from.
The Breaks, man. Waking from the American Dream. Bagged and Boarded. Phoebe. Soundbite Nation. These are all the shows you could be listening to over at smodcast.com, Scott.
There's so many to choose from.
And if audio's not enough for you, man, if you're just like, no, I want the thick dick of video as well, man, we can go to our YouTube channel, which is C-Smod, or you can watch Comic Book Men, our show on AMC, following The Walking Dead and The Talking Dead every Sunday night.
There's so many to choose from.
That's right, Scott. There are so many to choose from. So get choosing, kids. Go to smodcast.com. Start getting picky, man. Stick these sweet, sweet oral sounds into your ear pussies.
There's so many to choose from.
You said that already.
There's so many to choose from.
You want a podcast? I got a Smodcast. You want a podcast? I got a Smodcast. You want a podcast? I got a Smodcast. You wanna, do you want a podcast? Do you want a show? Do you get your laughs from computer radio with this bro, Scotty Mo? It's about time to lose your shit. Everybody's Parker Cliff for that legend Kevin Smith.
Welcome to this podcast. I'm Kevin Smith.
Scott Mosier.
Lights out. Sundance, dance, dance. Lights out. Dance. That was awesome. Awesome backup. I was there, dude. No, that's not Peter Wolf, motherfucker.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
That's me and Scotty. And we're talking about
Peter Wolf is like,
hey, what I
I've
do?
been listening to every show since you started.
I'm a big fan. Shit.
Fuck you.
God. You guys are pricks, man. My blood runs cold. My memories have just been sold. You guys are big assholes. You guys are big
What are you saying, Peter?
I'm rewriting a classic song to describe the boys from Smodcast.
It broke my heart, man.
My blood ran cold. My memories just been sold.
Right?
We are telling the story of Sundance 1994. Me and Scott Mosier sitting here reading from a journal that a young Kev Smith kept. And I actually went to Sundance last week to celebrate the 20th anniversary, but we're not going to bore you with that here because Mosier didn't go. I'll talk about that on Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. But here, we're in the past. Fuck the present. In the past, everything's nice. There's a lot of hope.
Now.
We know what
Fuck the
happens
Dalai
now.
Lama.
This is a sentimental journey, kids. Gonna take a sentimental journey. Going to 1994. So as you remember, when we last left our heroes, they had just had their premiere screening.
First screening.
Of Clerks, opting against a Q&A, which I find very interesting.
Yeah.
That was 122.
No.
Yeah, no, okay, no, that's fine. We're good. I'm full.
You have questions?
For once, I was like, I'm done. I pushed back early.
Maybe, I mean, do you think part of,
I was scared probably.
But was it also possibly just like, why fuck with, like, you know,
I'm not going to say I remember exactly, but I am almost positive. I remember having a conversation of like, let's not push it. They seem to like it.
Like someone stands up like, why are you an idiot?
Yeah,
like,
or just like, we love the movie. And I was just like, yeah, go fuck yourself. Oh God. Like, I don't know how to can address an audience and fuck you. Yeah. We're behind. Now we were behind you. Now we're getting you. I'm like, that was fast. This was a magical time. The morning after that screening.
Oh, just we were glowing.
Afterglow. We're going to find out exactly what we did. Very few people, Scott, can tell you exactly what they were doing when their movie debuted at Sundance, let alone the day after. And I'm going to take you right up to the moment it was fucking bought, because Emo Kev, as we heard from last episode, who was like, John Pearson doesn't cause enough, and none of these lesbians are pretty hot stuff. Emo Kev went to Sundance.
I'm gonna have a beer.
Oh my God, a lot of fucking beers. That was the biggest revelation of last week. We've been diving into this old journal that I kept. It's not very long, kids, but it does take us all throughout the festival. And one of the biggest surprises to me was the fact that we did drink so much. And then it all started coming back going, yeah, that's all we did for the first half, because that's how you socially blended.
Yeah.
Like the girls, the Go Fish girls, they were all drinking. What were we going to do? Sit there? And plus Scott drinks. Like Scott's a beer man and shit. It's in his blood. So even though I was not the biggest fan in the world of alcohol, I'd be like, I'll choke it down because we're all in the fraternity of film.
Because this is what my life is like now.
I'm going to be a filmmaker and an alcoholic. All right. So here we go.
Day after, morning after.
1/23/1994. I just want to say for the record, today is 1/27. Tomorrow is the 20th anniversary of the moment our movie was bought. I'm going to milk this 20th anniversary thing for every day. I'm like, today is the 20th anniversary of the second time I took a shit in my own bathroom after the movie was bought at Sundance. And it was a ropey. 1/23/94, Scott. Says young Emo Kev, who's just had his first film screening. And as he told us, you know, in case you don't remember, he said something like, it felt great. Even if we never got picked up, the $27,000 was worth it alone. So he was very happy with that screening. He's fucking already cognitively reframing because nobody was picking us up. That's what we were done. Our movie was just there to screen. And again, this wasn't a festival where, a version of Sundance where there was a crazed feeding frenzy at the top half of the festival. That never happened before until Go Fish, this very festival. So here we are, 1/23/94.
There was, just for clarity, my memory is that there was the only underlying thing was a few places like Sony and a few places were like, well, let's see how it plays at Sundance.
For Clerks.
For Clerks. That was the underlying thing.
A wait and see kind of thing.
A lot of people, basically everyone had passed, but everyone sort of said, well, you know what? Let's wait and see how it plays. Like, so, which wasn't really a big pile of hope to stand on.
And also, it was never somebody like Harvey going, let's see how it plays. Let's see how it plays in Sundance.
Let's see how it dances if it can do the dance.
Yeah, lights out. Bob. That's right.
That's right. Get Peter Wolf. You got it, have you?
He used to be married to Faye Dunaway, so that could be helpful. She was in the yards. Trying to get Clark State Finance is probably not the way to go about it. So any event, it wasn't like Harvey going, we'll see how it plays. It was like Mark Tusk going, I'll try to get Harvey to a screening. Hopefully it plays the way I think it'll play and stuff like that. And always some junior in the company.
There was an extreme, like, I guess there was that
glimmer of hope.
There was a glimmer of like, but it wasn't enough to really affect what was happening. I remember that there was that glimmer of hope, but it wasn't enough to make you sort of ride the waves of like, is something going to happen? Is something not going to happen? We were all basically like, probably nothing's going to happen.
And maybe that's why we were drinking, or maybe that's why I was drinking. I was just like, all this work and like, yeah, it's great to be here, but like, I'm in debt, motherfucker. Like, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking like distribution, Miramax. I was just like, who's going to pay for all this? I'm like,
are you going to pay for it?
Hey, buddy, come here. So I bet you there was a lot of like, all right, we're at day 2 at Sundance. Movie's still probably not going to get bought. Let's get drunk and watch movies.
You're that pair.
Because that was the reward. Like, that was it for us. We were at our end game. Like, the movie was never going to sell. But you're right. Maybe there was this kind of.
That's what I remember as soon as you said it, right? Because I remember at the screening where we did, jumping ahead, like October films. There's a few places that were not much. I mean, it wasn't like everybody. There was like a few people who'd said, we're not interested, but you know what? We'll see how it plays in Sundance. So that was like the only thing.
Nugget.
Yeah.
And going in.
Yes.
Then by the end of the festival, we were getting nice reviews because again, we didn't play till the second half. Getting a good buzz, but the critics start writing about it.
We have momentum.
And people were like, "Hey, this is a movie we were seeing," and suddenly the idea of distribution was not like far fetched. Like suddenly John was like, "We may be in play." He's like, "Just wait and see." John Pearson, who was the producer's rep on Clerks, and as we heard, the producer's rep on Go Fish as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, man, it was
the absent.
Yes. So it's very, very possible that these two boys were still harboring hope.
Yes.
That somebody would come along to pull them out of it.
But it was
but
it was different from most other people who were there being discovered and not having a sense of like, we kind of were like, we have one fucking slim chance. Maybe that if the movie plays so well with audiences, maybe somebody will be interested. But, you know, having had everybody see it, and sort of pass on it doesn't make you feel awesome. In case you're wondering. But
we were buoyed by, right on, we're at Sundance.
Yeah.
They only picked 16 fucking movies. We're one of them. It was like Jack Nicholson in terms of endearment. He's like, there's 20 astronauts in the world. I'm fucking one of them. Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was also like a big crying towel as well, where you were like, we're never going to get picked up. This is the best it's ever going to be.
Yeah.
But we certainly felt bright about the future in as much as like, well, they've noticed us.
Yeah.
And maybe next time somebody will pay for it and stuff. But it felt like Clerks was.
It was a validation.
Yes.
But it was sort of like, I think we had sort of prepped ourselves for like, this might be the extent of our validation.
Yeah.
Like
it ends here.
Yeah. Basically, cause it was 1994.
And again,
as we've said,
the culture of Sundance was different. It wasn't like every filmmaker wasn't heading there going, oh, I got to sell my movie at the festival. That had never happened prior. They sold before, they sold after, but never at the festival.
And also, the means of distribution were totally different. It's not like today where it's like, if we'd have gone and go like, oh, we got into Sundance and then nobody bought it. It's like, well, we could go with Gravitas. You could put it, you could get the movie out in the world for people to watch. That
Kevin
didn't
Smith
exist.
Movie Club could pick you up.
Yeah. Like,
wouldn't that have been weird? Like, nobody wants to buy Clerks except this odd outfit called the Kevin Smith Movie Club.
Hello.
Like, who is this fat man in a colorful Loud hockey jersey? I'm you. No.
The future. Feast your eyes on me.
Filmmaker shoots self in head, seeing what
himself and then his younger self in an amazing murder suicide.
And a mutual murder suicide. Young and future Kev Smith destroyed one another in abject disgust for what one would become and what one was.
It's the most memorable moment of Sundance.
Not since Harvey Weinstein picked a fight when someone bought Shine out from under him has there been such hostility in the streets of Sundance that warranted such a memeable story.
Park City became Dark City.
He stopped existing. It was weird.
It was intense.
But for the best.
But on to the next thing.
I mean, honestly, did you see Cop Out? Fuck it. It should have happened years ago. Okay. We are diving into 123.94.
Okay.
It's sketchy, but I'll try to remember. So obviously I'm writing this in retrospect. A brunch type deal with David's friends, one of whom works for the Salt Lake Tribune. So that's got to be David
Klein.
Because we didn't know any other Davids really. It's not like, fucking David Weinstein. There wasn't no David Weinstein. David Dinnerstein Weinstein at the Miramax or something. So this clearly must be Dave. Then we see Bob at Z Place, Bob Hawke, who I did see at the festival this year. First to Z Place for a beer. There you go.
Yeah.
And quick visit with the Fishes. That's what we're calling them at this point. We got a nickname for them. Like, what do you guys call us? They're like the Dicks. Yeah. Like, yeah, why? Because the movie. They're like, well.
The desperate beer drinkers. That's a long name, man. We're trying to shorten.
How about DVD, I guess.
Yeah.
That's funnier. Calls Debs. Then to Naked in New York, in parentheses, socks, with an exclamation point.
Oh.
I reviewed the movie. I don't remember it. I mean,
One word review.
one word review sucks. Naked in New York sucks in New York. I don't remember the movie. I'm intrigued. Now I want to go back and watch it and see
Naked in New York.
43-year-old Kev appreciates Naked in New York in the way that clearly 23-year-old Kev couldn't. Eric Stoltz was in it, remember?
Yeah, I think
and Mary Stewart
Masterson.
Weeds. No, what's the Weeds?
Mary
lady?
Stewart.
Is that her name?
Mary
Weeds lady.
Mary Weeds.
Mary Weeds. I always get there's two actresses with three Mary.
Well, there's
names.
Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, but that's
there's
not
another
her.
one. That's
She's in
clearly not her.
Scarface.
Yeah.
There's Mary Stewart Masterson, and I don't know if they were both in Fried Green Tomatoes.
That's what makes it even more confusing. The other one's got another Mary, three names, Mary, Mother, Mary, or something like that. And then after that movie, one of them stopped existing. So maybe I was future Mary, mean past Mary. Murder-suicide thing didn't work out quite the way it did.
It's trending.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. Where Eric we go to Naked in New York, where Eric Stoltz makes an amusing comment about his cock shot. I approve.
Oh, there was a dick shot. I
in the
remember
movie.
that. Yeah,
And the Q&A, he made a joke about it.
Oh, okay.
And I give him props. But it's not full out props. I'm like, he rocked a dick joke. An amusing comment about his cock shot. What?
I had a titter. His tutor.
It was quite bawdy, but I let it ride. What? Afterwards, we wait outside for Mr. Pearson and see Greg Araki and Pal walking arm in arm up Main Street wearing daisies in their jackets. I just told him about it. I saw him. He was on a panel that I did while I was there at Sundance this year called the Class of 94. It was me, him, Rose Trochet, who we talk about quite a lot in here, and Boaz Yakin, who directed Fresh. And I told Greg, I was just like, I was just looking at this journal that I kept.
Yeah.
And like, I specifically referenced like seeing you walk down the alley, the Main Street, arm in arm with some dude, because like, I didn't know gay people where I came from. I was from New Jersey. We didn't have gay people or something like that. But I probably in all likelihood knew a shit ton of gay people, just didn't know they were gay. Like my brother's obviously one of them. But for me, you didn't do that. Nobody did that in Highlands. Like two dudes walking down the street, arm in arm, and they got daisies in their jackets. Like this is the very definition of gay, and everyone's cool with it here. Like this is amazing. What a wonderful paradise. So, it's obviously enough for me to like mention it in the book. Like it made an impression. Let me see. Now at Z Place, we see Bob and make dinner plans for Tuesday night. John Pearson finds us and comments on the screening. The Go Fish Goldwyn pickup deal. Yeah. I give them in parentheses like I'm approving. The Miramax damage control that will be necessary after the hasty sale. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
Nah. See, Miramax, as unenthused as they were to see Clerks, Tusk was going to get Harvey to come back and watch it at the festival. And then Harvey wanted Go Fish, but John sold Go Fish to Goldwyn. And so then Harvey was just like, you didn't even let us bid on it, and blah, blah, blah. And so there was some damage control that John had to do with Harvey to be like, look, man, that wasn't for you guys. And Goldwyn, Kathy Schulman was on the Sundance selection committee, and she went to Goldwyn, and they had an inside track, and blah, blah, blah. So don't be mad. Don't hold it against Clerks. That was his whole thing. So that was the damage control. Then he tells us that we've got a dinner invite from Universal's Zan Divine at 8 p.m. Yeah, Zan plays a big part of our mythology, man, as you'll hear. We head back to the condo and then to the Baja Cantina for a margarita. More booze. Nobody's going to buy this movie. Let's get drunk on the girliest of drinks. This is how I probably would have preferred to spend that Sundance getting drunk on like foo-foo drinks, sugary drinks, because all that beer. how did I shit? I must have been so bound up. Beer and tricks. And then it comes out like 3 days later, multicolor. And fajitas before meeting Scott's parents and Kit Kat. That's Scott's sister, Kristen, who I was dating at the time. Ed takes off to see Minotaur. John M. buys us beers.
My dad.
John Mosier buys us beers, and Carol Mosier gives me.
He's like, put down that sugary drink.
Yeah, he's like, margaritas. I'm not going to sit next to you. You're going to drink like a woman in Palm Springs. Drink this beer. Carol, do you see him drinking the? John, let it go. God damn it, no! We're in public. His fat friend is embarrassing all of us.
All the years we put into him.
How's that beer, boy? It's good, Mr. Mosier.
Good.
Tasty.
Mixed with my tears. It's delicious.
He just picks up a margarita, slams it on the ground, stares at me cold. Carol Mosier gives me a neat tie, Bugs & Co. So there's a Bugs Bunny tie. From there, we head to Texas Reds for a soda. Hey, there's the first time we're drinking something, a soft drink. Apparently, we've had too much. We need to slow it down.
You just go back to the 50s. Get a soda.
We're having a malt. Scott and I are at the malt shop counter sipping a soda. While Scott's father eyes us angrily, quickly replaces it with a beer. You know, you get more drunk when you drink beer out of a straw. Do it. We do this pre-Universal dinner. We head to the Universal dinner, chat with Mr. Pearson for a few minutes before Zan arrives, and he defends his Goldwyn maneuver. Zan gets there, and we learn that she's a hockey player in Los Angeles and a higher up at Universal Gramercy.
Yeah.
So this is where it begins. We told you about Jim Jacks last week. He comes up to me a few days from now and says, you know, I wish I was looking to buy Clark's, but Harvey bought it. You know, I would have remade it in color and let you keep 85% of it. And I never asked what that 15% was, but certainly it would not have been the cast.
And probably some of the
fucking the corpse in the bathroom and stuff like that. He was a big fan of the Day in the Life movie. He was tight with Ice Cube and he loved Friday. He was just like, Clark should have been like Fridays. Fridays is a black Clark. That's what Ice Cube said to me. I was like, really?
Like, yeah.
Can I have some money?
So Ice Cube owes me money.
That's what you're saying. I should sue Ice Cube, right? No, I think about it. That NWA thing was ripped off of me as well. She's cool. We eat Thai. Well, they eat Thai. And John gives us a bit of insight into why he hooked up to Clerks. She pays, and while driving Scott and I to the Holiday Village for the Fun premiere, that movie that Renee Humphreys is in, she tells us that her job now is to show the flick to the Universal executives and see if there's work for me, all done through Tori Metzger, my agent, of course. So there it is.
It's like a writing.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I did Clerks, but obviously they're not going to do anything with it. So let's see if we can get you a job in there in Universal and stuff. Ed meets us there, and Fun turns out to be extremely engaging and unsettling. During the Q&A, Raphael Zelinsky, the director, tells the harrowing story of cutting the negative yesterday and handing the print done and shipped 2 hours previously. He had just finished his movie right before the screening. I remember that. On the way back, John assures me that the snow will not deter the crowd from our Clerks screening tomorrow morning. We have another screening.
So, which is because the part where you were like, John, it's snowing.
Nobody's going to go to movies if it snows, right? He's like, it's Park City, you fat asshole.
I know, there's so much snow.
How are they going to park in this city with all the snow? You don't get it.
Will they ride at Todd Todd?
Once inside, a call from Gwen comes in, and she invites us to the Klein and White condo for a party. Ed, Scott, and I trudge through the snow and hang out at Motherlode condo with Gwen, Rose, and Val. Val's the actress in Gwen and Rose's movie. Rose is the director, Rose Trichet. Gwen is Guinevere Turner, the writer. And she's the star of the movie, too. I talked to Neil Goldberg from Warner Brothers, and he's excited about getting into Clerks. Tusk is there. Again, I see Tusk. I'm like, Tusk. This is Mark Tusk from Miramax. Tusk is there, Dr. Love himself. And we chit-chat and joke around. We drag the girls through the snow to the clerk's condo, and we spend 2 or 3 hours talking and joking and listening to the sad and poignant tale of Rose and Gwyn's affair. They used to date. And now that the movie was done and at Sundance, they weren't dating anymore. Valerie gives dish on Scout, her ex, and Rose's ex as well. A lot of interdating in that Go Fish circle. The women leave vowing to be at the clerk's screening in 6 hours. We'll see. So we're tight. We're hanging out with these fucking lesbians,
a lot, yeah.
man. And never once, I'll tell you this, there was never once like door closed, like, do you think we can fuck them? Like we knew.
Yeah.
These chicks were like, so like, you know, even though we were fucking boys from the burbs, it was very clear. And that was kind of what was fun about it. It was like you were hanging out with girls, but there was no ever chance that you'd be like, do you like me?
Seriously.
Please, do you like me? Like me? Here's a note. Check a box. 124.94.
It's only one box.
Yeah. Do you like me? Yes.
She writes in the other box.
She just doesn't check a box. I'm like, you forgot to fill it out.
You obviously don't understand how this works.
What are you, dumb or something? There's only one choice. I love you. Love me. I couldn't even fucking get it together with straight chicks, man. I wasn't going to fucking shoot the moon.
I ain't going near that shit.
I can't even convince straight women to fucking look at my dick. How am I going to convince the impossible? Might as well go to try to track down a Yeti, for Christ's sake. 124.94, Scott. It hurts to wake up, but somehow we do and shuffle down to the Holiday Village for the 10 a.m. screening of Clerks. Kit Kat, that's Kristen Mosier, and the Mosiers are there, Scott's parents, as well as Karen James from the New York Times, Mark Tusk, of course, from Miramax, Treya Hoving, who was also in acquisitions at Miramax. So we didn't think that she was actually going to show up because she had been like, I'm not really into the movie, like, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then with the buzz, she was like, well, maybe I'll check it again. Matthew Modine, who was a juror that year. Allison Anders, who is also a juror. And of course, and Allison Anders directed Gas Food Lodging.
La Vida Loca.
La Vida Loca, which I believe was at Sundance that year, 94. And of course, John Pearson and Bob Hawke. We do the intro in which I thank the audience for coming at 10 a.m. Plug Go Fish is one of the best films of the festival, and one of the only in which you get to see the producers bare ass. Starting to work a little shtick up there, a little shtickler, if you will.
Let's see how they react to this.
Are they ready for this, guy? It's one of the only movies you get to see the producers bare ass. Like, oh, did he say what I think he said?
I love it.
He speaks to power. The screening goes killer with tons of laughs in all the right places. At the end, we missed the opportunity to do Q&A. Wow. But an Italian magazine takes 20 pictures of me and Scott for a story on Sundance. I asked them the exact numbers. How many pictures is that?
How many is that?
Over 20. I start charging. Mr. Pearson says Modine dug it, and Tom Kalin gives his thumbs up as well. Tom Kalin, who directed Swoon, gives a thumbs up.
Because he was an exec producer on
Go Fish.
But
later on, we find out that he did not like the movie. Like, he tells the girls, like, I don't like it. And the girls are like, oh, fucking, he didn't like your movie. They told us.
We don't like you, and he doesn't like your movie.
We do, and once again, no Q&A.
No Q&A.
Interesting. Still no Q&A, man. We do breakfast with the Mosiers and Kristen, and then head off to Z Place to pick up Kristen's package, which would be like the badges and tickets and all that shit. We fight against Z Place is no longer Z Place. Now it's called Park City Place or something like that, but it's still there. It's still the same fucking building. But the festival headquarters is not there. It's over at the Marriott Courtyard,
changed,
not near the center of town. Oh, that
even by Chasing Amy, I think it
started being different. I mean, the Sundance, I'm certainly not going, it doesn't exist anymore, but the Sundance that we went to in 1994 and the Sundance that I went to in 2014, just they're just much larger,
Yeah,
more
yeah.
vast. I mean, think about it. The largest screening house that you had to screen a movie in was the Egyptian Theater, and that was like 300 seats.
Yeah.
Now they go up to the high school, to the Eccles, and where they built like this 1,100 seat theater. That's where we showed Red State and stuff. So like when I went to speak and do the Clerk screening this weekend on like that stage, and they had taken out the middle seats so they could put a middle aisle, because you used to have to walk all the way across the seats to get to the
On
middle.
the Egyptian?
At the Egyptian.
Yep.
So now it's even smaller. It's like 260. But it's so weird when you're standing there, you're like, wow, this at one point seemed like the biggest
theater in the world.
Oh my God. It was vast and like fucking full of people, and they were all laughing. And our entire future was predicated on the reaction of only 300 people in that theater. Like, it's not like 1,100 and boy, that's a vast number. 300 people. It's crazy.
And it was the wrong 300 people.
It could, yeah, it might not have fucking been anything, which we have one of those screenings we'll hear about in a little bit. Things don't always go well for our Clerks boys. A lot of fucking fraught with peril adventure.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Let me see. On the way out of Z Place, we run into Mark Tusk again, who gives us his take on the Go Fish acquisition scandal. He introduces us to Robert Newman of Robert Rodriguez / ICM fame. Robert Newman was an agent. I think he still is. He might be a producer now. We find Kristen again. Marilyn arrives as well. Marilyn Gigliotti, of course, who plays Veronica and Clark. So she's now joined us. Jeff and Lisa are there, and Marilyn's now there. Brian O'Halloran unaccounted for. As I learned this weekend, he was just like, I just didn't have the money, so I got there as late as possible. Ed wakes me up for the Iraqi screening, and Scott comes back from dropping off Kristen in town to report that he talked to John Pearson and got two interesting pieces of info. One, the head variety critic, Todd McCarthy, loved Clerks. He was at the first screening, as well as Jay Hoberman and Dave Kerr. Jay Hoberman wrote for the Village Voice, and Dave Kerr, I think, was the Daily News.
And think about that. Think about 1994, how people communicate.
Isn't that strange?
It's like, it wasn't like John could just text or call or whatever. It was like, it was all done by foot.
Yeah.
Footman.
It was literally like being in the Civil War. Scott ran with a message, ducking buckshot and musket fire, and finally reached me and was just like, the lead critic of Variety.
Word from Pearson. Word from Pearson.
It's true, man. There was no like now you'd fucking just sign on to fucking the internet.
Well, you'd be,
and look at
you
it.
wouldn't even need him. Or even if he did get advance personally, he would call cell phones or whatever. Like there would be
or text you right away to be.
That was more just like he ran. I think I randomly ran into him, and so he was just like, that was the way to get the information, because I was actually there. Otherwise, we would have waited.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
Let me see. He was at the first screen describing it as fucking hilarious, he said. And two, Treya is now full throttle on Clerk's side after gauging audience reaction to the morning screening. So Treya was just like, I don't know. Was now like, yeah, man, this movie's this could work. So she's on Tusk's side.
So maybe our heroes are getting a little bit more excited
by the second screening, like with Treya going like, I can back this. Suddenly we got two people at Miramax, two people like to convince.
Maybe suddenly we've gone from to maybe.
Now, if this was the current day festival, by the first screening or second screening, like it's rare that it's like, we'll wait and see how the fourth screening goes, because there's such a feeding frenzy. So these cats could take their time as like word would build up. And again, our first screening was at the Holiday Village. That theater is maybe 120 tops. And so total 240 people have seen Clerks so far. Some of them tastemakers, some of them just cats who were like, want to see a movie. So word's starting to trickle around and stuff. But now having Treya full throttle, fuck, something could happen. Full throttle. At 6:30, we go see Totally Fucked Up. Way better than The Living End is my review for it. That's the Greg Araki, both Greg Araki movies. Then we head to Main Street for some Texas Reds. No sign of the girls. So we start for home, see a tired Val. She was an actress in Go Fish. Get some cereal at 7-Eleven and go back to the condo. I call Kristen. Then I talk to my mom and dad and then Virginia. As I prep for bed, Gwen calls And we talked for a while about the films. Tom's real take on it. Tom Kalin. That's when she tells me.
She's like,
he don't like it. He don't like it.
You don't like it.
You don't like it. It's he thinks you're too straight for your own good. Hello. Good talking to you, Glenn. She wants me. I think I have a shot. Tom's real take on the movie, her writing and its power in defining for me lesbian love. Cause in the movie, she does a lot of these voiceovers. She wrote, she tells me I'm a big fucking romantic at heart. The synergy betwixt our two films, we talk about that, and the two sets of filmmakers, love lost and importance of collaboration, the double standard of snubbing Clerks for misogyny, but not snubbing Go Fish for man bashing, the minority voice in cinema and the importance of equal time for male hetero films, the safety of hetero lesbo relationship, and tons of other stuff. Well, that's a long conversation on the phone. At the risk of sounding cheesy, we bonded. I think she wants me. No, I'll say that. I hope I can hang out with Gwen when we get back. She's probably the first female friend I've had that won't end badly. Back to Ponder Rock with my ass, Scott. I'm talking about this shit. Now the second half madness of Sundance begins. Tomorrow, John smooths things over with Harvey, God willing, and I hang out with Kristen. And that's the end of the entry. Okay, now we're on to 125.94. Wiggy Wiggy for a 1020 screening of Suture with Kristen. Remember that? Another black and white movie that was there. Yeah, it was like Go Fish, Us, and Suture.
David and I forget.
Scott McGee.
Yeah.
It's all right, but kind of boring. It's a beautiful movie, but it is very like paced. And when the directors refer to their budget as low and constraining, $900,000, I lose all interest. You know, fucking, you're talking to the $27,000 kid here. I'm like, 900,000 constraining. And meanwhile, if you look at Suture, it is a miracle. They
shot it like anamorphic 35.
It's a very well done film, but, apparently
23-year-old was
like
outraged.
Yeah, I'm fucking quite bored, and I can't believe $900,000 could be constraining. Being with Kristen is nice, and I wish it could go on, but duty calls, and I meet John, Ed, and Scott at Z Place, where John produces both the New York Times, Clerks, and its budget is mentioned, but a majority of the press goes to John's brilliant Go Fish maneuvering, and Daily Variety. Go Fish gets a glowing review. Strong box office prospects are mentioned. And in the back, there's a blurb declaring Clerks and Go Fish as the word of mouth must-sees. John also relates Dave Kerr's Daily News piece, which calls Clerks a cross between Howard Stern and David Mamet.
Yeah.
Now, to say that, like, fucking, that could have been it. Like, I could have went home, like, with somebody, anybody, referencing Howard Stern and David Mamet. Like, I was just like, that dropped the mic, ladies and gentlemen. That's fucking the best thing you could possibly say about me. I remember being very, very excited about that. Okay. We meet with a Brit guy from WMG and Polygram who expresses interest in God, which is the original title of Dogma. It's just called God. And breaks down the foreign money setup. Afterwards, I say goodbye to Kristen for the day. Oh yeah, mid-meeting, when asked if Pearson would be involved with project number 2, he maintained his one film repping policy. So he was just like, nah, I only do this. Wow, I was like, you coming to the next one? He's, nah, I only do this once. We hook up with the girls for a bit and meet Anastasia. She plays Daria, in Go Fish.
Yep.
To the claim jumper for brunch, and then to an interview with an Italian newspaper or magazine. Afterwards, we hang out at Z Place on the stairs, get photographed with the girls, and meet John Brody from Variety, who just loves Clerks. We love John Brody.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him or talked to him in a while, but he's in Mallrats. We love John Brody so much that if you look at Mallrats when Jaws pops out of the water and while T.S. and Brandy are getting married. The priest that marries them and then says kiss her and does a little kind of like fist pump, like kiss her.
It's Brody.
It's John Brody, man. But he was great. You call him up, he answers his phone. John Brody. He had a very like Steven Soderbergh laid back delivery. Almost to the point of Stephen Wright. Very, very dry. he went on to like, I think he was in charge of GQ or Details or one of those news magazines for a long, long time. This starts me to thinking that if it was Brody who thought Clerks was fucking hilarious, what was Todd McCarthy's real take on it? So we find out it was John Brody from Variety, not Todd McCarthy from Variety.
So we don't know how the review is going to be.
Exactly. We might find out in tomorrow's Variety Daily. Back to the condo for a nap. Alex from Touchstone calls and extends a dinner invite. I call back and leave a message. After waking up, we head to dinner with Bob Hawk, and run into Gwen and Rose. We give them Clerk stickers for their badges, then meet Bob Hawk and head to the eating establishment for dinner. Bob talks about his getting laid prospects with a Sundance volunteer who lives in L.A.
Oh, boy.
So 20 years ago, I saw Bob the other night. He was like, nothing works down below. But 20 years ago, Bob was like, fucking get my dick sucked. And I think he did this trip, if I remember correctly.
Maybe, yeah.
He was like, it was good for you. It was good for me. Bob hooking up. Let me see. He shows us a picture of his parents and relates early masturbatory experiences with a lime green vase.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I write, he's the best. He did. He was just like, the first time, I ever jerked off, I did it with this vase, this lime green vase. And I would put my dick in it, I'd lubricate, and I would fuck the vase. And we were just like slack jawed. Cause I don't know why, cause it sounded like some like kind of story that fucking Muse would tell or something, but like this fucking 60-year-old man, well, 50-something-year-old man at this point, is telling us a story about like fucking a vase when he was a kid and shit like that. And how he's going to go fuck some dude like during the fest. We were just like, we're in another world.
Like a vase.
A lime green vase. Following that, we head back to the condo and Jeff and Lisa tell us that the filmmaker condo is too sweet, man. 2 floors and a hot tub. I gave up the filmmaker condo that festival gave me to them and stayed at the group condo that we all got. And I get Laura Wallace. You want to talk about fucking communication. I get Laura Wallace, who is all the way back in New Jersey.
Yeah.
This is Laura Wallace. Brian Johnson wound up going out with her and stuff like that. But I had gone out with her at one point. And so she was the person I contacted. I said, do me a favor. I need you to read the Dave Kerr piece over the phone to me. And I talked to Brian Johnson is going out with Laura Wallace at this point. So in order to hear the fucking Daily News piece about Clerks and what he said about Clerks, Dave Kerr wrote about Clerks, I have to call back to New Jersey and Laura Wallace has to pick up a copy of the Daily News from the newsstand. I think they were working at Quick Stop. That's why I called. Her and Brian are still at Quick Stop. Yeah. And so I called Quick Stop and be like, read the fucking Daily News to me. And so they read me, what Dave Kerr said, as opposed to right now, which would just be like, oh, look what Dave Kerr said on Google. Virginia and my sister and her friend and Donna show up as well. We go to the Miramax party. It's too crowded. We spark up with Tusk on the porch. Yeah. Smoking weed, and then go home. Here we go. That was the end of the day. 126 to 130. So it's a mega entry.
Okay.
This takes us up to the moment the movie gets bought.
Okay. This is a 2 full days.
I did a catch up kind of thing, man, because apparently there was so much going on. 126 to 130. I cannot remember all the details anymore. So much happened in 5 days. I'll try to get it all. We grab breakfast with the Mosiers on the 26th before they head out back to Washington. Following that, it's up to Z Place for the false hope of seeing a Variety review. It's not there. We're still chasing this fucking review.
Chasing paper,
bitch. Fucking make it rain. We have a makeshift interview with the lady from Entertainment Weekly in which I give my Clerks and Go Fish Are So Similar dissertation. Afterwards, we go upstairs and give an interview to the Sundance cam run by Barbara Bain.
I remember her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember a lot of these people who were kind of holding your hand.
Being nice.
Yeah. Being nice, not just being indifferent and stuff.
You drink too much.
Yeah. You guys should put the beers down. You're developing a serious problem.
No.
I need this.
I got nothing else. Where's my Variety review? Imagine a time when we could just have it.
Imagine if I could read it on my watch like Dick Tracy. Scott and I head home. David shows up, and me and Kristen hang around for a bit. We head to dinner at Pizza Hut. Me, Kristen, Scott, Dave, Ed, and Marilyn. Ed goes to a 6:00 screening of Killing Zoe, and we go to the Holiday Village where there is quite a large crowd. John Sloss, as our lawyer, who we finally saw earlier at Z Place, shows up, as does half of Utah, trying to get in. Killing Zoe was a hot ticket.
Yeah.
Mr. Pearson tells us that Ira Deutschman himself is there. We intro, and the show begins.
Third screening.
This is our third screening.
Yeah.
And Ira Deutschman, he's at Fine Line at this point. It was our worst screening. The audience wasn't as quick as the previous two. See, it's their fault, Scott. There's the
An
audience.
inferior audience. I thought this was the screening where there was something wrong with the projector.
Guess what? You're going to hear about it. And worse than that, Scott, the sound on the projector crapped out. Well remembered. I didn't remember that until
I
was
remember
reading
the
it.
loop. My memory is that the loop was too long.
Uh-huh.
They had looped it wrong, and so it sounded like they were underwater. And it was like at a certain. This is my memory. Is at a certain point they were like, "What do we do?" And they're like, "We can stop it and re-loop it and start it over again." And they gave us that choice, and we were like, "It was playing terrible, and it sounded terrible." So we were like, "Yes." And so they stopped the screening and started it again. That's my memory.
Okay, there's Scott's 20-year-old memory of the event. Now let's see how close you get, because I document what's going on. Because I honestly, and I give you props, because until I looked at this the other day, I was like, what? I did not remember at all. Thank God I wrote it down. It sounded like the lines were being delivered underwater. There it is.
Water.
40 minutes into it, they shut the projector off to clear the sound head. After that, it goes relatively well, but the momentum has been broken. So I guess we just picked up from when we started. Following the screening, we do our first Q&A. So the first Q&A is at the worst screening. And that sets the tone for what I will do forever, which is like, we didn't get them.
Yeah.
Let's go up there and fucking get 'em. The whole philosophy is like, if you don't get them with the movie,
Get them with the Q&A.
get them afterwards. Tell the story of how the movie was made and stuff.
Yeah.
Just make them sure they
Dance.
leave. Dance, monkey. I was like, bully. Whoop, 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 whoop. Ira Deutschman's here. I'll dance all night. This is for you, Ira. Big finish. I crossed a very fine line, didn't I, Ira? Thank you. So clearly, I'm doing this because, fucking now's the time to go up and talk and shit like that. Following the screening, we do our first Q&A with a receptive audience. They ask questions. I respond wittily.
Defining Q&A.
Just in case we were all fucking
They
lost.
ask questions.
Even worse, I respond wittily. I bring the actors up. They get their plugs. There are people from Monmouth County there. Someone asks the cat question. It's
How do
great.
you get the cat to shit on cue?
And that will define, we'll talk about that for the rest of the year. And probably, I don't really talk about it so much anymore, but that was one of the first, I get asked this a lot. And this is actually a cool fucking story.
Yeah.
I meet Tori Metzger, my then agent at CA, minutes prior to the screening. And afterwards, I finally meet Amy Taubin as well. Amy Taubin wrote the piece in the Village Voice post IFFM, the Independent Feature Film Marketplace, where she called the film Clerks the undiscovered gem of the marketplace. So I'd never met her
in person.
John, Amy, Tori, Jessica, who's a reporter from Tribune, who's following John around journalizing the Clerks deal. Tori's assistant, me and Scott all go to dinner at Yarrow's. John rants and raves about the Martha and Ethel scandal. I don't know. There was a documentary called Martha and Ethel.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the scandal was, but there's always some buzz going on.
Yeah.
Tori's assistant makes some jokes. Amy Taubin talks about a few flicks. And at the end of it all, we meet Len from Variety, Mr. Box Office. That would be Len Clady. He worked for Variety at the time. Scott, and as a voracious Variety reader,
Yeah.
Especially the box office, weekend box office, even back then, he was like meeting a rock star.
Yeah.
Holy shit, you're Len Clady.
Holy shit.
Number cruncher, Buffalo box office, a tuner, an odor. You're that guy.
I'll suck your dick.
I was probably the most impressive person I'd met so far. Obviously, I was unimpressed by seeing Andy McDowell, but Len Clady.
Unlike Andy McDowell,
Len Clady makes himself scarce and captures your imagination because of his scarcity.
Like the snow leopards in Tibet. Len Clady appeared.
It's a privilege to view him. He's not common like a pigeon or Andy McDowell. He's a rare bird. Scott and I rushed to the holiday village to catch the start of Go Fish. Rose does an intro and doesn't mention us. Look at how fucking egocentric and arrogant I am. But here it is. I mentioned Go Fish.
The bare ass.
And sold the bare ass and stuff. So Rose does her intro and she doesn't mention us. And I'm like, fuck.
Come on, Tiff.
My first Hollywood heartbreak, Scott. at the hands of independent filmmaker Rose Trochet, who just did not feel that the beginning of her lesbian film, which was enjoying its first post-sale screening at Sundance,
needed to reference ours.
Why does it go one way and not the other? And here I was just speculating pages before that I would never get hurt by a lesbian friend. I'm so sensitive.
Henceforth,
from this moment forward, I turn homophobic.
127.
My war on the gay begins now. How dare she not reference Clerks? I will forever be the Lex Luthor of any gay who dares.
of gay cinema.
Let me see. John drops us back at the condo, and there's Brian O'Halloran, late but excited. We have a round table discussion about the screening that we just had. With Dave, Kristen, me, Scott, and Brian. That's us sitting around going like, it wasn't bad. At least the Q&A saved us. Yeah. Fuck that. Oh, it sounded like it was underwater. All right. So that's 126, 127, Scott. Press conference and light breakfast at Cafe Tirigo. Some dude asks harsh questions of Lodge and Raphael. Lodge Kerrigan, who directed Clean Shaving.
Yeah.
And Raphael Zielinski, who did Fun. And I say, New Jersey and get laughs. See, I'm starting to learn right away. It's just like, oh man, I get to be the punchline guy.
Yeah.
I get to make the jokes and shit. After that, we run to Z Place and scap up, always going to Z Place, scap up a few daily variety copies. Clerks is reviewed by Todd McCarthy, who rumor has it likes nothing. Well, he likes Clerks and gives it a great review. We sit in the balcony of Z Place and are joined by Ed, Dave, Virginia, my sister Donna, her friend, Brian O'Halloran, Marilyn, Gigliotti, and Kristen. Eventually, the Go Fish girls, too. We celebrate the review and then do a radio interview. Brody gives the piece his thumbs up. We see John Brody. He holds it up, and he was like, thumbs up, like meaning that was a good fucking review from Todd McCarthy. Scott, Kristen, and I catch a bus to see Floundering. On the bus, that was a movie.
It was, what's his name? James
LeGros.
James LeGros.
That's right. It was, during the James LeGros was in almost every movie period.
Yeah.
But this was like kind of, he was the front man.
It was his fucking salad days, man.
Salad days of James LeGros. He's still working. He never stopped, man.
Oh, okay.
You can't stop James LeGros, Scott. Don't you fucking
That's what I know.
On the bus, a lady in front of us discusses Clerks with her two companions as they read the premiere piece aloud. So we're on the bus and some motherfuckers start talking
about the movie.
Yeah. So like that's a first, man. We're undercover angels at this point.
Yeah.
Listening, little cherubs with our ears going, they're talking about our movie.
Talking about Clerks.
Oh my God. We're going to get to the fucking bottom of this shit right now, dude. This is weird. Weird. Hold on. You'll see what I'm talking about. Scott tells them who I am. So you're like, he's the guy that did it. So you fucking spring me out there. We know who she is. It's Mary Stuart Masterson
Oh shit!
from Fried Green Tomatoes, dude. Sorry, if she's Mary Stuart Masterson, then who's the other?
It's not a Mary Elizabeth Masterton.
It's not her. She was the one in the abyss. It's Mary. Is it even Mary?
Mary Kay Place. No, it's not Mary Kay Place.
It's weird. I mean, I watch Weeds all the time. She's in the movie Red and Red 2 with Bruce Willis. Mary, but it's 3 names. I know we're gonna get it.
All right. Mary Louise Parker.
There it is. Mary Louise Parker, man. But this wasn't her. She wasn't there.
Parker, what'd you ever do for us?
But it's Mary Stuart Masterson of Fried Green Tomatoes, who was also in the movie with Mary Louise Parker. Hence the name.
Yes.
Confusion. We chat about the film, and then somewhere Mary Stuart Masterson or somewhere Mary Louise Parker is like, fuck you. I get you confused with Kevin James, King of Queens.
That's what happens.
Fat, because you're both fat dicks with the name Kevin. And I'm like, why is he a fat dick? What did he ever do to you?
Yeah.
And she's like, you see how you don't defend yourself? Because you know you're a fat dick. And I was like, you got me there, Mary Stuart Masterson. She's like, no, it's Mary Louise Parker.
Stuart Carey Place. Masterson. Parker.
Mary Cubed. Is it? No, Cubed is Mary to the Third.
Yeah.
We chat about the film with Mary Stuart Masterson, Scott, and get off to see Floundering. Wow. So we sit there for a second and we spoke to power, bitch.
I know.
We're like, what's up?
She like a fried green tomato.
She was the little drummer girl from fucking Some Kind of Wonderful, man. Where she,
I'm sure that's why I very uncharacteristically.
Hey, man, Clark! Because you were like, holy shit, we can talk to fucking the little drummer girl.
Oh my God.
She was cute too. I remember she's older than us, but still like, not like fucking way older, but like as if we were same age. Scott might have had a chance. I never would have had a chance. Maybe that's why she talked to us, because Scott was like boy candy at Sundance. She's like, I could totally fuck this guy, and who'd know it?
Leave him in the snowdrift.
Mary Stuart Masterson, man, she chews him up and spits him out and shit. And she was looking at Scott like, tonight, you're my fucking tonight. It's the night. She's singing at him and shit. And I'm like, I made Clerks.
He did.
You guys going to dinner? Are you going to have fried green where are you going?
I'm just working on this stuff. It just started. Bare-ass producer, New Jersey. Right?
We chat about the film and then get off to see Floundering. Once inside, we wind up sitting between Mary Stuart Masterson and Jennifer Jason Leigh from Rush.
Wow.
This is a world of 3 names, Scott. Everybody's got 3 names who's successful in this business. She hogs the armrest. I didn't bring that up
Fancy
either.
actresses.
Yeah, 3 named actresses always taking a goddamn armrest. Where's that chubby butterball supposed to put his fucking hoof, you know?
Hogging the names. Hogging the armrest.
She hogs the armrest the whole movie, which doesn't really affect the watchability of the film. It sucks. Again.
Even with an armrest.
23-year-old Kev. I got to go back and rewatch Floundering, see what I thought. Now, what I think now. At Z Place, we meet up with Mark, who joins me, Dave Klein, Ed Hapstack, Brian O'Halloran, Marilyn Gigliotti, Kristen Mosier, Scott Mosier for some Texas Reds. More of this turkey steak. Oh, yeah. John shows up unable to nap due to the lesbians occupying his bed. That sounds so hot, but they were sleeping in his condo. Tori soon follows, Tori Metzger, my then agent. I spend most of the meal bouncing between conversations with Mark Tusk and John Pearson. Mark swears he's bringing Harvey Weinstein to the 4 p.m. show at the Egyptian Theater tomorrow. Okay, so in our world, this would be tomorrow too, because this is the 27th. And it's the 28th is when this Egyptian screening happens. So it happened at 4 o'clock. So let me say this, 4 o'clock Utah time. At 5 o'clock tomorrow, we'll know exactly what the fuck we were doing 20 years ago at that exact moment in time. Yep. We will control the chronos, Scott. Temporal power. Slap track. She hogs the armrest for the whole movie. Oh, but you know that.
I can't get over it.
Texas Reds, that's all I'm talking about. I mean, she's a good actress in Rush, but not enough to take the whole arm rest.
She doesn't have big arms.
Look at these guns. Where was I going to put them?
Where am I going to dock these gunboats?
Mark swears he's bringing Harvey Weinstein to the 4 p.m. show at the Egyptian tomorrow. John drops me and Kristen off at the Holiday Village for a screening of Grief. Okay, but worse looking than ours. So that movie, Grief, apparently didn't look as good as Clerks. That's saying something. Ileana Douglas, Melvin's granddaughter, Martin Scorsese's girlfriend at this time of writing, introduces her short. Paul Glassner introduces the actual film. So Ileana Douglas had a short before Grief. And then Grief. She was in Grief. That played. Afterwards, Kristen and I have a great conversation about the future as we trudge to the Egyptian for Fresh. Now, Fresh is the movie directed by Boaz Yakin.
Yep.
It's a great flick. Tori Metzger is there. And at the Q&A, Giancarlo Esposito, Sam Jackson, and Nabushi Wright are on stage with Boaz Yakin. Boaz fields a harsh, condemning question from some uptight bastard in the back.
Oh, shit.
You know what's fucking weird is I wish I had read this before I went. I wish I had read it there on the stage. I could have if I had read this and memorized it. At that panel, the one the other day, Boaz was there and he talked about this. He was just like, I got confronted at the screening. Somebody got up and was like, who are you to make a black film? You're like a white guy, a white Jewish guy. You shouldn't be making this. He's like, so I got yelled at for my first Sundance experience. And then he said when he made Price Above or Below Rubies, whatever it was called. Yeah. He said, then I got yelled at for being a self-hating Jew. He's like, I really couldn't catch a break. And he was not even like joking around. That dude was sad. He was just like, I was real depressed back then. He talked about his Sundance experience. He was like, I was always depressed.
My journal was wet paper.
I mean, seriously. He goes, I didn't know what everybody wanted from me. Like, he was kind of bitter about it. But it's weird. He talked about somebody saying shit and I was there. And cause I was sitting there going, no way that happened. And I was there. Cause so much so that I wrote about it, but I forgot. On the way out, I see Mary Stuart Masterson again. She's become the new Andie MacDowell. She's everywhere. She jokes that she's following me. Missed opportunity.
But you don't have obviously you don't have the same feeling towards her. You're a little bit like,
I like her.
You're a little giddy.
Yeah, because she's drummer girl and shit. But I'm glad I didn't give her my heart, Scott, because I know she was trying to eat you as boy candy. I know for a fact.
Leave me in a snowdrift.
I'm gonna fuck his brains out and leave him in a snowdrift. That's what you do at Sundance.
That's the dance. And my dance card is fall.
Am I gonna die?
You're on fire. Exposure? You're on fire this episode, dude. You're awesome. The dance card.
I just wonder if somebody's like, you should listen to this podcast.
Yeah, they're like, these fucking dudes say that you fucked boys to death in 94. Boys? Well, like 19 to 25
of age.
Did I?
It's all a blur.
94 is a fucking blur. I was running that fried green tomato high. I thought I could do anything. And I did. Didn't left many boys in snow drifts along the way.
I was like a snow plow. Plowing through boys.
Leaving them in the snow.
Mary Stuart Masterson must have been through here.
What happened to those guys down there? Only one thing could hurt a man that badly.
The master.
The insatiable Mary Stuart Masterson.
Not Mary Louise Parker. She would never do anything like that.
On the way out, I see Mary Stuart Masterson again. She jokes that she's following me. On the way in, I finally got to meet Peter Broderick. Peter Broderick wrote about us in Filmmaker magazine. And we used his articles that he had written in Filmmaker magazine like the year before or 2 years before to, model and budget for Clerks, man. We were like, ooh, because it broke down like this is how they did it, and this is what they spend. They actually had a kind of like, basic budget, like cover sheet line item kind of thing. But it gave us a general idea of like, okay, Laws of Gravity is a good looking movie, and they spent roughly this to get here. Living End, Greg Araki's movie, they spent this, there was another one, Together Alone, the $7,000 two gay dudes in an apartment movie, which I was like fascinated by. Still have not seen to this day. And I've ever since I heard about it, I was like, that's genius. Like I always felt like a fucking idiot for spending $27,000 to make two straight guys in a room. That guy, $7,000, two gay guys in a room. He cracked the code, man.
Make them both gay and knocks off 20 grand.
I was always so jealous of that dude. Okay. At the condo, Brian and Marilyn hang out. Scott and Ed come home. Mark Tusk takes me for a ride with Marty Zeidman to pick up the girls. Go Fish Girls. Me, Tusk, Scott, Ed, Rose, Gwen, Bry, O'Halloran play quarters, and I never, and get stoned and drunk.
Whoa. This is the night before.
Totally fucked up at Sundance, man. Yeah, this is the night before. We're having a good time. I say, it's pretty fun. I read my Variety review aloud. They eventually head out.
During the 17th oration.
Where you going? I'm not done yet. And I do some damage control with an upset Kristen, and then we fall asleep cuddling. So that's the night before the movie.
That's the night before.
Here we go, Scott. 128. Packed day. 9:30 a.m. screening of The Hudsucker Proxy.
Oh, wow. At the library.
Yeah. Joel or Ethan Coen is there. I believe it was Ethan. Who's the short one? Joel Coen is the tall one, I think, who's married to
Francis
Marge,
McDormand.
son of a Gunderson. Yeah. But one of them is there. So is Joel Silver. Afterwards, I turn in my filmmaker ballot at Z Place and get I was one of the only people that took the voting seriously. Maybe that's why we won a trophy, because I voted for myself. Like, no, the other filmmakers bothered.
Me.
And we get more ticks for the 4:00 show, of Clerks. I run into Tori. Tori Metzger, my agent. She gives me the facts from the LA Times piece by Kenny Turan, which I guess is good. Yeah, it was good. I pick up the Hollywood Reporter, in which we get a better review than we did in Variety almost. We do an interview with John Anderson from Newsday, and then with Gersh Kuntzman, the best name on the planet, from the New York Post. Gersh shows me the Karen James New York Times piece, which is excellent. Karen James wrote about Clerks in the New York Times.
Yep.
And this is before Janet Maslin would review the movie when we played at New Directors, New Films. But Karen James, it was nice, really great things that she said. And that got all these other news outlets like Newsday and New York Post going, oh, the New York Times is fucking talking about Clerks. Let's go talk to the Clerks guys. After trying to figure out where Gersh can get a clerk still in New York to the Post by 5 or 6. Because again, it's not
all of us were
let
there
me email
too.
it to you, or I'll text it to you. It was like, how do we get him a picture? The IFP saves the day. Because of the IFFM, we had a picture at the office, and so we got it over to the Post. Scott, me, and Mr. Pearson sit around talking about how cool the Times piece is. I asked John about last year's Sundance, and he says he didn't like the 2 films he repped then. He said he loves and is proud of his 2 films this year. Pearson is so cool.
He's come full circle.
Yeah, right now he's back. He's paying attention to us. I like him again. He's smart.
He knows how to spend his time well.
First half, couldn't speak to it. Now he's where he should be. Holding our hands. Scott and I hook up with this British show, Movie Watch, on Channel 4 in England, and we get interviewed in a cemetery. Yeah, well done, well remembered. In a cemetery for their show. They drop us off at the Egyptian, and we gear up for our final screening.
Bang.
Now, what did we do? Got dressed. We put on armor, body armor. We were expecting to throw vegetables. In the lobby, Mark Tusk introduces me to his boss, the man himself, Harvey Weinstein. Harvey says Tusk has been doing lines from the movie for months in the office, and that it was Tusk that made him come tonight. God bless Mark.
Yeah.
I go up and do a killer intro after Jeff Gilmore's great introduction. He says, if Kevin Smith didn't exist, we'd have to invent him. I talked about that this weekend at that screen, when I was on the stage at the Egyptian. And I was like, I haven't been on this stage since that night. And like when I left that stage, everything changed. I stepped off that stage. I mean, you'll hear about it soon. But I remember I got choked up talking about it. I remember that intro because I was like, I couldn't have fucking written something better than that. Like that was so fucking perfect and shit like that. And that was validation right there. A guy who fucking programs a festival goes like, this kid is, and his fucking Cinderella story in this movie, too good to be true. If he didn't exist, we'd have to invent him. I love that. I tell the crowd about the convenience store news calling. Remember right before, and I think you can see it on the Clerks documentary that Phil Benson made, The Snowball Effect. You see me do a piece of this intro. And I talk about like, right before we got here, I got a phone call from my dad or something like that. And he told me the convenience store news wants to talk to me. I was like, so we got that going for us. And the audience is laughing and stuff. And here I say, I milk it, they howl. It's glorious.
Glorious.
And to be fair, you can go hear that on Snowball Effect. They are fucking enjoying it and shit. But it's a different Kevin. Whenever I see that clip, he's so subdued. He's so like, we got a call from convenience store news. So like, I got that going for us.
Right.
Yeah. No fucking showman at all. No, like, welcome to Smodcast. Have a week. None of that. Just like,
welcome to Smodcast.
It's a real pain for me to speak because I'm so emo. Emo exists. I tell the story about the convenience store news calling. I milk it, they howl. It's glorious. The film begins. Our final screening. The crowd is easy. They laugh at the pig's head full of chocolate milk. That was became a mark of the movie. If like when Dante's making his breakfast in the morning, when he pours the milk into the cookie jar head, the pig head, and drinks out of it, if the audience laughed at that, we sat back with our arms behind our head because holy shit, it's going to play like magic. And at this screening, it did. At the Dante Caitlin scene, I go out for a smoke. I come back and stand in the back. I look, but I can't see Harvey and Mark. I sit back down. The crowd eats it up. There's louder, longer laughter than in any previous screenings. When Silent Bob delivers a single line, there are cheers and claps. It ends. Big fucking applause. I get up and bring the cast with me. We do a bit of Q&A. I meet the adoring crowd one-on-one after we're finished. The guy from IRS Media says he'd like to release it, and I direct him to John. Do you remember that? There's a dude at the bottom of the stage, and he was talking about, like, I think we could do something with this. And I was like, well, John Pearson's the guy. But Scott comes up to me and whispers that we have to go to the eating establishment for a meeting with John and the Miramax boys. Everyone wishes us luck, and we head over.
So I was,
Gwen told you.
Yeah, I was, I don't know where we were separated at that point.
You were talking to somebody else, getting like people going, this is great. And I was talking to somebody else. This is great.
And then Gwen came up to me and she said, John said that when you're done, you guys are supposed to go across the street to the eating establishment where he's with Harvey. And I was like, once again, man, I was the
messenger, the foot soldier. And it was good messages, so you never got punched or fucking killed or something. At the eating establishment, John is in mid-discussion with Mark, peculiarly quiet. A Miramax exec, which would be David Lindy.
Yeah.
Another quiet guy, John Gordon.
Yeah.
And king of all impresarios, the modern day P.T. Barnum himself, Harvey Weinstein. There are potato skins on the table, and the topic of conversation is Clerks. Harvey is big. He talks big. He thinks big. He is big. He says he wants Clerks, and he wants to release it big. Big soundtrack, big book. I'm in heaven. Big push with marketing, something he knows well. Mark looks like a child, quiet and sullen, like a geisha. During Harvey's pitch, occasionally he makes eye contact and smiles. Scott and I chuckle maniacally. It is the most unbelievable moment in my life. Then things get really cool as John slips into his deal-making mode, John Pearson. He rejects their first offer, explaining that it would have been a great pre-Sundance figure, but with 4 screenings, the film has proven it's not a pig in a poke. I always remember him saying that. We adjourn to the side and discuss a viable figure, agreeing that asking for a lot of money was never our first concern. Being at Miramax was. We go back, John lays down the acceptable figures, and Harvey explains that his new philosophy in business is to, quote, make people happy by giving them what they want. And he agrees to everything. shakes our hand. I thank him profusely, and he's off with his assistant, John Gordon. That leaves me, Scott, John, Mark, and David Lindy, the exec, to hammer out the contract on yellow legal paper. John argues over the perpetuity arrangement, and David Lindy starts bleeding profusely from his nose. We attribute it to the altitude. When the deal is set, I sign on the line that is dotted, and we head off to the Miramax condo for celebratory drinks. Tusk unearths my letter to him that accompanied the tape he had requested many moons ago. We drink, smoke, and all is right with the world. See, for that moment, Scott. All was right
that
with
window.
the world. That window, the tiny window. And I thought that was it. Finish line. We made a movie. We sold the movie. The end. What could we possibly happen after that? And then you remember, you got to keep doing it over and over. We head to Z Place for Los Lobos. They're playing at Z Place.
Oh, yeah.
And see Brody outside, immediately tell him about the new home for clerks. And he tells us that Reality Bites really does just that. That was, what's his name? Ben Stiller's first movie he directed. Scott and I skip Los Lobos after seeing Peter Green fight his way in. Peter Green, the actor.
Like, we're not going in there.
Totally. We like literally the dude was like, fuck you. And there was like a moving fist fight. And we were like, that looks like Rough Boys. Let's go hang out with the lesbian girls. They're much girls. He fought his way in, man. So we skipped that. Sloss comes back to the condo. He wasn't even there for the deal. John Sloss, our lawyer. We saw him afterwards. We were like, we sold the movie. He's like, what? Like,
I thought they were trying to get in touch with him or something. But once again, it was like
there was no cell phones or something like that. He was probably in another screening. Sloss comes back to the condo and we sit around talking and reveling. What seemed almost impossible actually came to pass. Miramax bought Clerks. That's where the journal ends. So that offer was, the movie was 27. I remember they was like, well, what did the movie cost? Scott, Scott was like $27,575.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, about $127,000. And that's when John was like, give us a second to go talk. And John was like, this has never been about the money, all the things that were there. But then we went back and John was like, well, the film has to be blown up to 35. So maybe that should come from your end. How about $227,000? So, 27 presumably to pay off the budget, although with interest and
it was
stuff,
over that,
it was over that. 100,000 to blow the film up.
Finish the movie.
Because it was only a 16 millimeter print. So it had to become a 35 millimeter print with an optical track and all that shit. So that, that cost money, and the sound mix they wanted to redo and stuff like that. So, and the music, they wanted the music soundtrack. So that $100,000 of the 227 was demarcated to blowing the film up,
finishing the movie and delivering it.
That left 127, then paid off the 27, then dispersed, money amongst the cast and crew. And then,
but 27 was more like 30
after the interest rate and shit like that. But, so they, John went back. He was like 227. As you heard, Harvey was just like, no, I want to make people happy now. Okay.
Yeah. And there was like a 50 city commitment, I believe.
Top 10 markets, 50 cities, top 10 markets or something like that, which was, there was some terminology at that point for an indie film release. It was like, you're going to play in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Boston,
whatever the top 10 are. And then 40 other markets, and his not necessarily simultaneously,
right?
But
his whole thing too was like, it's gonna do more than that. Like, I want to take this into the multiplexes, and because that's what he was planning to do with Pulp Fiction, had done with Crying Game, and had done with The Piano to some degree. So his plan was like, this could play in the suburbs, and we were just like, what? It's a fucking black and white movie.
Yeah.
But he wasn't that far off. They did a little suburban push at one point, but it wasn't ready for that, man, at all. They'd find it on video and then get ready for it. But at that point, it was really an art house market. And the movie went out and never played on more than 50 screens at any given point.
Yeah.
And wound up doing business. They bought it for $227,000. They made $3.1 at the box office. I don't know what they did in foreign sales, but I remember David Lindy specifically. They were talking at the table after Harvey left, and they were talking about buying it internationally.
Yeah.
They weren't just buying it domestically. They were buying it for the world.
Yeah.
And David Lindy's like, I can't wait to take this to Cannes and sell the shit out of it. And I remember going like, you really think anyone who would buy this movie outside of America? And he was just like, are you kidding me? They love this. I can't wait to sell this. And he did. He sold the shit out of it.
And we went to Cannes.
We went to Cannes. That was the next big film festival I think we went to, right?
Well,
No, we went to Sundance, Tokyo.
Yeah.
That's right. Sundance had collected, they do something similar now where they do Sundance London, where they pick a few of the films that were there.
It was at that point, I think it was the first time they'd ever done it, or the second, but it was like all the award winners went.
Yeah. So it was like us, Spank and the Monkey. We were there with David O. Russell.
Because we both tied for the audience award.
No, he got the audience award. We tied for filmmaker trophy, oddly enough, with Fresh.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think Boaz went. But it was like, remember Ruby in Paradise went? Like
Victor Nunez went from the year before.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't.
That's why I think that was our first. I think it was the first year they'd done it because they pulled some of the movies from.
Suture was one of them as well from our year. But you're right. There were a couple that had been at the previous Sundance.
Yeah.
And so they were just trying this experimental program where they're like, we're going to take a bunch of movies to Tokyo
and just screen them.
Yeah. And so we got to go to that back in,
yeah.
I guess it was in 94. I got a poster for it. So.
Yeah, it was 94.
There it is, man. That's fucking 2 decades back, dude. That begins the fucking epic journey toward Clerks. I'm all out of things to read in the journal, but that was fun. People seem to like the last one.
Yeah,
as well. Every day of my life, Clerks is there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I can't say that. I think I probably said the word Clerks every day, you know, since fucking then. But, but it
never disappeared from.
No. And all my movies were interconnected, like this shared universe long before the fucking, all this Marvel stuff. But, you know, it was, it's what a weird, wild journey. I told them when I was up on stage, I said, for a while, I said, last time I was here, like, I was just, you know, I got out of it. Like, I just didn't want to make flicks anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was just kind of felt like I was done. And I said, I think I was trying to figure out, like, who I was. I was like, you know, I had this discussion with my wife where, you know, I was talking about the last few years and I was like, she goes, I think you probably had a midlife crisis. And I said, no, midlife crisis is when you like want to fuck girls, get a nice car. I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
I don't know.
I said that to me feels like a, you know, fucking a midlife crisis. Like I didn't have any of that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she goes, well, then I think it's fair to say that you had an identity crisis. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you didn't know who you were for a few minutes and then you went off and kind of figured it out. She's gone, but you know, there's nothing wrong with that. She's gone, but that's what it was. And so I was telling the people at the screening, the 20th anniversary screening, I was like, there was a minute there where I went away for a while. I didn't want to do this anymore. And for 3 years I didn't. And I just, you know, made podcasts but it eventually led back to filmmaking and stuff. And, you know, after a few years, you know, I was trying to figure out my identity crisis. I realized who I was. And who I am and who I'll always be. I'm the guy who made Clerks. And, you know, I was like, that's an awesome thing. And then we started the screening. It was cool. We had a wedding before the screening too. That was actually kind of cool.
That's awesome.
But, it's been a long, wild journey, 2 decades. And I could not have done it, as you heard throughout all those pages, without the dude who I'm still sitting across from.
Andy McDowell.
Yeah. And there are 2 women that made this journey possible. Andy McDowell, Mary Stuart Masterson. Scott Mosier is all over these pages, ladies and gentlemen, just like he's all over my heart, just like he's all over this room, just like we're still talking 20 years later, still fucking having the same conversations. Now they're sharper and now we go longer at them and have a blast doing it. Now we're conscious of it. Back then it would just be like joking around, be like, imagine Andy McDowell says this. But now it's just like, oh, I know if we sit here.
Then I would sit there and imagine it quietly.
I'm like, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck you, it's funny.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, Andy. You're like, share. You're supposed to share. I'm like, no.
How could we do that?
Yeah. Don't be crazy.
How are you supposed to see the movies in my head? We figured out a way to do it. We just keep saying it out loud and stuff like that. That's nice. It's nice. It's I don't know. It's heartwarming to me. I love reading all that shit. But the underlying thing, the thing that's like unspoken is that I was sitting around with Scott 20 years ago. I'm sitting around with Scott 20 years later. Hopefully 20 years from now, I'll be sitting around with Scott and we'll be saying goofy things. There you go, kids, man. Hang out with your friends and say goofy things. You never know where it's going to take you.
Exactly.
That is Smodcast for this week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kevin Smith.
Scott Mosier.
Have a week.
This has been a production of Smodco Internet Radio. Sir, only at smodcast.com.